Hi everyone. Hey guys, sorry. So, small change of plans for tonight. Sean can't make it. He's losing his voice, and I was like, well, can't do an interview if you can't talk. So he's gonna come on Friday. Hi. But I announced that I'd be here, so we're gonna be here anyway. And I thought, since I was supposed to interview Sean Wells, who's such a good biohacker supplement information guy, I would talk to you guys about the supplements I take. I'm usually very guarded with that information for a few reasons. Because just because I take a supplement doesn't mean that you should take a supplement. And people always want to know, what are you taking? What are you taking? But more and more I am finding that it's not quantity, it's definitely quality. I think sometimes we can spend just a fortune. I know I have boxes of supplements that I've just over the years purchased, and then, they end up making it worse, or I don't like them, or I didn't read the label carefully enough. So if you want to ask any questions about supplements, I will answer to the best of my knowledge. And you can ask the questions in the comments, and I will read them. But for now, I'm just going to walk you through not my regular stuff like magnesium and vitamin D and omega-3, which I would say are like across the board. Everyone should take them. I've implemented a few kind of out of the ordinary supplements into my regime. And I've noticed some really good results from them. And I think specifically because of my autoimmune conditions, they just work well for me. So one thing with supplementing, it's a lot like working out. You want to supplement for your goals and your needs. You're not just take things willy-nilly because someone else is taking them. You have to, if you're going to be putting something in your body, you have to be sure what it's going to accomplish and know what you want it to accomplish. Someone asked, what did I take for treating my SIBO? So I worked with Dr. Becky Campbell when I had SIBO, and we did an herbal protocol. So when you have SIBO, it's good to work with a practitioner or someone who can get you high quality herbal antimicrobials. Essentially, if you go to a conventional doctor, they're going to give you antibiotics. But unfortunately, with antibiotics, they often kill not just the bad bacteria, but the good bacteria. And sometimes the bad bacteria becomes resistant to antibiotics. So you tend to have to do rounds and rounds. Functional medicine doctors or holistic doctors or nutritional therapy practitioners or just nutritionists, the way that they would normally treat SIBO is through an herbal protocol. So you would do antimicrobial herbs as well as taking other things like caprylic acid, which is coconut oil based, and binders to help your body detox, maybe something like superoxide dismutase, as well as digestive enzymes. So essentially you're helping your digestion, because if you have SIBO, you probably had low stomach acid or, something in your upper GI. So then you have to kind of kill the things, clear out the toxins, and then replant and take certain probiotics to kind of plow the field, as it says, in your gut essentially, and replenish the bacteria. So that's a very intense protocol. But yeah, something you would work with someone with. So one of the things that I want to talk about, which I started taking this supplement not very recently, I would say 3 months ago. And I remember reading about it, and when did how I first tried it? Mike Mutzel of High Intensity Health, he has Myoscience as his supplement company, and they sent it to me like a sample because I ordered my omega-3 from him. So it's berberine. So this one's from Biotics Research. I also really like the one from Apex Energetics. So what's really cool about berberine, it's that it's a plant compound. There's several herbs that have this compound in it. It's extracted. It's specifically, I forgot the Latin name for it, but it's been used in China for years, centuries, to treat gastrointestinal infections and other digestive issues. But the really cool thing about berberine is that it is extremely effective at helping with blood sugar regulation. So what's cool with this supplement is that it's an herbal compound, but it's been studied many, like a lot. You can Google NCBI, which is like where you would look up medical studies, and berberine, and a ton of stuff will come up. And so they found that berberine can be pretty much just as effective as metformin, which is a prescription drug they give to people with insulin resistance or like type 2 diabetes. If you are on metformin, talk to your doctor. I don't know if there's any benefits to switching. I don't know if there's side effects to metformin, but if you're, yeah, Tara, it's awesome. Oh, I mean, I'm not carnivore either, so I don't care. But yeah, so berberine is fantastic. And I'm someone that, although I was able to reverse my insulin resistance strictly through dietary intervention, I got to that point where, I think a few months ago, I told you guys I was like kind of testing my blood sugar recurringly and my ketones like several times a day for many, many weeks, and I realized that my blood sugar and my ketone levels are rarely affected by the foods I eat because they're always whole food, like low carb paleo. But the number one thing that affects my blood sugar is stress. And it could be stress from like work or emotional stuff, or stress from like high intensity workouts. But taking berberine would help my blood sugar remain steady, like a 10, like number, like the numbers, like, from like instead of 80, like 95, 85 after a workout. So I find it to be really effective. I take these are 500 milligram capsules, so I just take one with each meal. Oh, I got that carnivore joke, honey. It was funny. What autoimmune illness did you have? I have ankylosing spondylitis and the usual multi-mag potassium probiotic, biotin, vitamin C, B12. Yeah, I'm missing something. So I was diagnosed with hidradenitis suppurativa, which is an autoimmune and autoinflammatory skin condition when I was like a child, 13. And that's my one diagnosed condition. I did test positive for the anti-nuclear antibody, but I've never got a secondary diagnosis, although I have a lot of symptoms. One doctor said it could be lupus, or my thyroid's been a little funky. But I also got to the point where I stopped trying to chase down a secondary diagnosis because it doesn't really matter. I'm just still managing my symptoms through food, and I know what they are. I don't really take multivitamins. I feel like I eat a lot of organ meat. Actually, instead of a multivitamin, something I do like, it's grassland beef organs. So this has beef liver, and it's grass-fed, and beef liver is essentially nature's multivitamin, plus it's super bioavailable. I feel like a lot of the multivitamins that they make, you're just peeing it out. Like if your pee looks like highlighter, it has heart, kidney, pancreas, and spleen. So I take 6 of these a day, which is the serving, which is crazy. And for me, this is like a multivitamin. It also, I feel like, helps a lot with like just supporting healthy detox, and it's made from just organs. Magnesium's good. I take magnesium glycinate every night. It's really good at like helping your body handle stress better, and it helps me sleep. I don't take potassium because I get it from food. I feel like a lot of like avocado is really high in potassium, pumpkin. I do take probiotics. I like Just Thrive. I don't take biotin. Biotin's really good, and it's good for your hair. It's a B8, if I'm not mistaken, or B7. It's one of those B vitamins, which all the meat and organ meats are really high in. So I don't supplement with B vitamins because I get them from my food. I do take vitamin C sometimes. Actually, the adrenal glands use a lot of vitamin C. So if your adrenals are under a lot of stress, I will start taking vitamin C, or if you want to support your immune system. Vitamin C is really cool because it acts as immune like support. It acts as adrenal support, and it's also a good detoxer. So it's kind of a multifaceted. Vitamin D is really important, D and K. So I don't know if you're missing anything. I think everyone has their own kind of like cocktail that they take. So I'm going to scroll, see if there's any questions. What symptoms did I have as a child? Oh man. I had all the symptoms. I talk about this a little bit in my books. So I dealt with chronic constipation since I was very, very little. I dealt with ear, nose, and throat infections constantly, like constant ear, nose, and throat sinus infections, tons of strep throat. I had a lot of like weird. I remember having a lot of like chronic pain in my legs, like unexplained pains in my joints and my legs, and they thought it was like growing pains. As a kid, a lot of swelling and bleeding in my gums, and that just kind of got worse. And then when I turned 13, I started like getting these boils, anywhere where my lymph nodes are concentrated, and that just kind of got worse for 13, 23, for like 15 years until I finally changed my diet. So yeah, it's weird now though, because when I think about it, all the way from sinus issues, ear infections, throat infections, like sores in my mouth, all that stuff when I was a kid, all the way to like the chronic constipation and issues with my digestion, it screams kind of GI issues, right? I also was on a lot of antibiotics as a kid, which I think kind of exasperated my autoimmune issues. Plus, it's already hereditary, so my family has the predisposition, and epigenetics. It's like you kind of have it, and you got to turn the switch on. Well, my switch was definitely turned on. So speaking of that, another supplement that I started taking not that long ago, but I really like it, it's a glutathione recycler. So glutathione it's our body makes it. We don't have to take it. And it's like essentially in our mitochondria. It's like the most potent antioxidant in our body. And what's cool is that they do sell supplements. Don't buy the hype. What's interesting about glutathione is that you can't really take it because your body doesn't absorb it like when you take it as a supplement. So I take a glutathione recycler. So essentially, it's from this one is from Apex Energetics, and so it has like cordyceps and something like milk thistle, L-glutamine, and essentially this just helps my body reuse its own glutathione. Of course, eating like antioxidant rich foods and foods that like, go ahead, Mike, if you have a question, just type it in the comments. Also helps your body use its glutathione. But yeah, I really like this one. So just for people who showed up a little later, this was originally scheduled to be an interview with Sean Wells, but he lost his voice, so we rescheduled till Friday. So I'm kind of covering my supplement recommendations and what I take, since he's a supplement guy. So another new thing that I started taking, adaptogens, and like cordyceps are in the glutathione recycler, and reishi, all these kind of adaptogens are becoming really popular because they kind of like essentially what adaptogens do. It's like they help your body manage stress better. So it's not like they calm you down. They just kind of like help your body deal with stuff better. And some also with mood and concentration. And I've always had a harder time kind of supplementing regularly with adaptogens because a lot of them come mixed with ashwagandha. Does what have effect? The glutathione recycler, I found it to be effective. I think it's something you have to kind of take for a while. It's not like, it's not there's no magic bullet. And I also will say any of these kind of supplements, like the glutathione recycler and even the organ the organ pills, I wouldn't take them unless you've addressed foundational health things first. Like, you can't just start at day one taking a bunch of stuff that's going to help your body detox. Because if you have a lot of stuff built up, like I remember before I did my SIBO protocol, before I knew I had SIBO, I tried to take these and I felt like I was dying. And I remember I told the company, like, I can't. But then I had them. And so I was like, oh man, I want to take those. Okay, so really quick, I found this people Mood Belly, and it's just a mix of cacao, reishi, and cordyceps, and it doesn't have ashwagandha, and it's just a powder, and I can mix it into my coffee, and it doesn't have any sweetener in it or any kind of flavor except for the cacao powder. So I really like this as far as Mood Belly. I just started taking it, but I really like it because a lot of the other mushroom blends that come there, they're sweetened, and I don't like that. Thoughts on folic acid. Folic acid is really important, especially if you are pregnant. I feel like I don't supplement with it because I feel like I get it enough in my diet. If you eat a diet rich in protein, especially red meat, and especially if you're eating organ meats, you're going to be getting enough of the B vitamins. Also really good things with like I also do like fish eggs and, like salmon roe and stuff like that. So, ashwagandha, it's okay. It's super hard to spell. It's with a W, but anyway, ashwagandha is a nightshade. So it is very effective for helping people. I've heard it's really great. It is a nightshade, and I know I'm sure I'm sure autocorrect is killing you with that one. But ashwagandha is a nightshade, and I don't do well with nightshades. They cause inflammation in my body. So I have to be very careful because ashwagandha is really hot right now, and they're putting it in a ton of products. Speaking of, Allie Miller, my good friend, she has her own. It wrecks you too, Heather. Yeah, I mean, if you're nightshade sensitive, you got to be careful. Always read your labels. Like when these people were going to send me their mixes, I was like, don't send me anything with nightshades. So speaking of adaptogens and nightshade-free adaptogen blends, Allie Miller has an adaptogen boost. And this is Allie Miller Naturally Nourished. So this is her brand. And it's nightshade-free. So she has cordyceps, ginseng, and rhodiola, which are like another, all those like super cool things that help you feel better. Selective nightshades, which is weird. That's not uncommon. A lot of people feel like they can do tomatoes but not peppers, or potatoes but not peppers, or potatoes but not tomatoes, or only tomatoes if they're cooked, or potatoes if they're peeled. So selective, plant intolerance is totally normal. A lot of people react to oxalates, where for me, I process oxalates like a G, but that's, my gut is better at that, but nightshade's not so much. Okay, so another a food based, and I don't think this is a supplement, but I guess it could be, is Ceylon cinnamon. So Ceylon cinnamon isn't the same as like the cassia cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon is better for you. It doesn't taste as good, unfortunately, but it's better for your is this good, Queen Bee? This is called Mood Bellies. So Ceylon cinnamon is, cinnamon in general is really good for blood sugar regulation, and it tastes great. And it's really interesting, actually. All these like warm spices, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, that are really popular now during the colder months, they're all really good for blood sugar regulation. And they're perfect on like squashes and stuff like that, and maybe some sweet potatoes. So it kind of makes sense. It's like Mother Nature, She knows what she's doing. So now 'tis the season for tubers and root vegetables, right? Where above ground vegetables don't grow as well. But all those warm spices that we like to put on them. Yeah, Mood Belly. But it's belly spelled Beli. Are really good for that. So yeah, the Ceylon cinnamon is better because, unfortunately, I forgot the name. I have this in my first book, but the regular cinnamon, the cassia cinnamon, which is the most common type, it has a compound in it that can be a little hard on your liver. So while it's probably in really small amounts, and like most people, you're totally fine eating regular cinnamon, I don't want to freak you out. It's just that, when we're talking about people who are maybe have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or are insulin resistant, which puts them at risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. If you're someone that really needs a lot of blood sugar regulation, your liver could be at jeopardy already. So that's when I would say, if you're going to use a lot of cinnamon, or you want to really implement it in your food, food for that purpose, Ceylon cinnamon is safer because it's easier on your liver. Okay, one last supplement, which of course I'm not like thinking, I don't think everyone and their mothers needs to be on a digestive enzyme, but think about like how many millions, if not billions, like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for sure, but like millions of people, and every day they're prescribed more and more, are on proton pump inhibitors. So like right now, doctors are just giving everyone like, oh, you got heartburn, here's some Nexium, here's Prilosec, it's like they don't even think about it. But there's some pretty big ramifications for taking proton pump inhibitors long term. So your stomach is supposed to be super acidic, like it produces pure hydrochloric acid. And we needed this super acidic environment because it also, like, the acid also kind of triggers other cascades and other enzymes, and so you properly digest, especially proteins, right? And your fats and your carbs and all that. And so when you don't have sufficient stomach acid, your upper digestion is essentially stunted. And what happens when your upper GI is stunted and when you don't have sufficient stomach acid, you're going to be getting that burping, that reflux, because your food's not digesting properly. It's kind of when you get that like rock in your stomach feeling after you eat a meal, right? Where you feel like, oh, I feel like someone has like a brick on my chest. And what happens when your food isn't properly broken down in your stomach, when it gets to your small intestine, it's going to be the molecules. It's going to be in bigger pieces, essentially. It's not going to be broken down into like individual molecules. It's going to be in bigger chunks, and that's going to cause essentially like physical damage to your gut and can cause leaky gut. Also in your duodenum, which is the first part of your stomach, of your small intestine, like that kind of connects to the stomach, that's where the super acidic ball of food goes. And then that it's called chyme at that point. Chyme? I never know how to pronounce things. And then there it is kind of turned back into it's like back to an alkaline state. And so it's not acidic anymore, so it's not going to burn your gut. But that's also where the bile comes in and the fats are emulsified so your body can absorb them. So essentially not producing enough stomach acid or digestive enzymes in general is going to have a pretty crazy like ripple effect of disaster in your digestive system. And so oftentimes I tell, like, you know, if someone is experiencing symptoms of reflux, of acidity, like they feel like it's acidic, and what happens is that it's like acid is in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's like your stomach has a lining of sodium bicarbonate, like baking soda, and mucus, and so that's why it doesn't burn through. But your esophagus doesn't have that protective layer, so if the acid kind of splashes up, that's when you feel like that burn. So not drinking too many liquids with meals is really important, and not eating in a relaxed state is important, so you're not like stressing out on the go. Of course, not eating crap food. Most people are just eating garbage food, and of course they're getting heartburn. So anyway, if you already addressed your diet and your diet's on point, but let's say you took proton pump inhibitors, or you cleaned up your diet, but you're still on those medicines, it could be a good idea to try and wean off of them. Because you can become malnourished, essentially, because you're not breaking down your food properly. And if you don't break down your food properly, you can't absorb it properly. So I'm a big fan of digestive enzymes. This is HCl plus. There's also hydrozyme. They're both from Biotics research. Essentially what you want to look for in a digestive enzyme, you don't want it to be just pure hydrochloric acid. I think that like having a combination, I think pepsin's important to be in there too. It's one of the major, digestive enzymes. So something with pepsin, something with hydrochloric acid. It could come in different forms. This has it as a betaine. There's also glutamic acid in here, but other ones, some of them might also have like lactase, or ox bile, to help with fat and stuff like that. So I just feel like as popular as antacids are right now, and I think that they're kind of devastating. HCl is hydrochloric acid. I'd rather have people take digestive enzymes than take antacids. It's insane, and just doctors don't have these conversations with people. Because if food isn't broken down and digested properly here, it's just going to wreak havoc as it goes to the rest of your system, and essentially can cause leaky gut and can cause symptoms of inflammation. So it's wild. People spend a fortune on gut cleanses, and they want to drink bone broth and collagen and all that, but then they're still taking Prilosec every day, and it's like, no. So there's several brands that make really good digestive enzymes. I like Biotics Research. They have two that I really like, the Hydrozyme or the HCl plus. Thorne Research also makes another good one. I think Apex Energetics might make one. Those are just three brands I really like. I kind of find the brands I like and trust and then kind of stick to them. One of the things that I really like about Biotics Research is that they're still a small family-owned company. It really depends. So if someone asks, how often do you take digestive enzymes? So if you're on a protocol, let's say the first time you're taking digestive enzymes, like if you're on a protocol because someone like has diagnosed you with low stomach acid, then you would take them with every single meal for like a month or so, until symptoms resolve or you start feeling better. I did that. Like when I did my SIBO protocol, I was on digestive enzymes for every meal. And then like I was taking several with every meal. Then I weaned down and then till I stopped. Now I only take digestive enzymes if I'm traveling or eating out at a restaurant, or like I feel, because okay, so essentially when you're stressed out, it's really going to affect your digestive enzyme production, your hydrochloric acid production. So if I feel like I'm kind of frazzled, I might take them for a day or two again, just because I feel like they help. But it's not something you want to be dependent on. In general, there is no supplement that you should ever become dependent on. It's not like, unless you're on something for like a life-saving medication, right? So maybe if you don't have a gallbladder, you might be dependent on taking beta TCP or an ox bile kind of supplement to digest fats, and that's going to be a long-term thing. Nothing that I take is like forever, and that's kind of why I think it's called biohacking. Like when you're just taking something to optimize, to make your body more resilient. It definitely does, Jenny. So when you like, sometimes I forget. Like when I was doing my protocol, I would totally forget to take, and I would take it afterwards. But ideally, you would take the digestive enzyme like in the middle of your meal, or like right before you start eating, or like a few bites in, is ideal. The beta TCP, that's another biotics research. That's essentially for gallbladder issues. Like if you have gallbladder attacks, you could take that and it'll help. Or if you don't digest fats properly. A lot of the things that like you might be curious, like, well, how do I know if I don't digest things properly? Or how do I know if I have like my gallbladder stuff? I definitely talk about a lot of this stuff in my next book, but also if you work with me one-on-one, we can talk about this stuff. I can't, tell you guys individually what you need. I'm just kind of sharing what I take. Charcoal capsules. Yeah, so charcoal capsules, activated charcoal is a good example of a binder. Like bentonite clay would be another one, or what's that Damascus, whatever, I can't say it, earth. Essentially few things with charcoal. You never want to take activated charcoal around any other medication or supplement, because it's like throwing it in the garbage. Your body's just going to eliminate it. I take activated charcoal. I always keep it on hand. I always have it for a few reasons. One, if you get food poisoning, activated charcoal will help get rid of that stuff faster. Two, I like to take activated charcoal if I'm going to drink wine. Honestly, it helps me not get hungover. If I know I'm going to like put anything in my body that really shouldn't be there, I'll take activated charcoal with like a meal. Sometimes I take activated charcoal with me when I travel, if I'm going to eat out, just in case like I get there's a cross contamination. It kind of helps the body eliminate, because it's what we call a binder, where it like binds to things in the gut and then eliminates them. But yeah, it's especially good if you get like food poisoning, essentially. But yeah, so I mean, I think when it comes to supplements, like I said, it's not about, you don't want to be dependent on anything. You don't want to take anything forever, except for like, okay, my lifers are this: magnesium glycinate, omega-3s, vitamin D. I think those are like my forever supplements. And then I take probiotics on and off. And then all the rest of this stuff kind of cycles in and out, I definitely go through phases where like I'm not taking anything. But right now I'm in a phase of my life, a season of my life, I'm about to go on book tour again, book launch, winter is hard on me, all these things. So I'm just giving my body extra support. When things are super chill, like your body, when it's not stressed, when you're on vacation and you're getting sun and you're sleeping and you're active, but not like hardcore, everything works how it's supposed to. But like life is crazy and we have long days and, we're stressed. So I talked a little bit about liver support and detox. So I'm not a huge fan of like detox protocols unless you're working with a practitioner. I know Ali Miller's running a detox program right now, and I'll tell you why. Hold on. It's because your body's really good at detoxing naturally, right? Like our liver does a really good job of detoxing. Our body's constantly wanting to clean house. However, I think you can support your systems. Like I wouldn't do there's two ways to detox. There's like the natural, gentle, like let me just support our natural detox pathways. And then there's like the brute force, which can be some of those like cleanses that you hear that people sell when you take like shakes and concoctions, and then you feel like crap and you have like loose stools and like, fever. So interesting thing about milk thistle really pushes phase 1 detoxification, but not so much phase 2 detoxification. So you want to make sure. So essentially, when you there's two phases of detoxification. One where your liver converts, because the liver isn't a filter, it's like a transformer. So phase 1 detoxification, your liver takes the crap in your body and makes it into a form that it can be eliminated. But sometimes in that process, in phase 1 detox, these toxic compounds become even more toxic, more dangerous. So we have to make sure they clear out in phase 2 detox. And phase 2 detox happens in your large intestine. Bile actually is really good at pushing out the garbage. So just be careful. Like I do take some things, like this glutathione recycler has some milk thistle in it. So this is something that helps my body's natural detox pathways, but it's also got glutamine, cordyceps, alpha lipoic acid, and a few other things. So this is something that I take to support just natural detoxification. Granted, my specific autoimmune condition, because it affects like the lymph area, I've always had this like theory that people who have hidradenitis suppurativa kind of have a hard time like detoxing properly. And then of course organ meats. So taking anything like liver, eating liver. You want to support your liver? Eat liver. It's just that simple. What do you feel about taking raw spirulina as a prebiotic? I don't know much about spirulina. I mean, I've obviously heard about it, superfood, algae, like seaweed stuff, always good for you as like chlorella, right? I know that, what is it? Oh my God, I forgot the word. What makes plants green? Chlorophyll has a lot of benefits, right? In the body, especially for detox and stuff like that, and does wonders in your gut for like cleaning out stuff, especially excess heme iron. But I've never taken it. I mean, I know like back when I was vegan, they'd put it in smoothies and stuff. But yeah, I don't really take prebiotics. I feel like I do resistant starches periodically. But in general, yeah, I feel like if you're doing like a protocol where like you're taking a new probiotic and you want to make sure it takes root or feed it, that would be when you were like, okay, let me hit it hard with the prebiotics. But yeah, not much into spirulina. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that like, there's so many ways. There's like, so many ways to like skin a cat. Like it's so hard. What do you think of the elemental diet for SIBO in general? I don't know that much about the elemental diet. However, I did talk to my friend Dana, who's a nutritionist, about it. And Dana's a clinical nutritionist. And something that we did talk about, and I have a video on YouTube up, this conversation I had with her, actually, if you want to watch it. But what Dana said is that when people go to these like liquid diets, essentially, or, yes, they're supposed to be healing protocols, but many times they're so far to one side that it's like, when the person tries to reintroduce any kind of food, it's going to be impossible, because when you eliminate too much for too long, guess what? You're going to become less tolerant to it. So sometimes, when something seems like, I don't know, I guess everyone's different, but like when I I stuck to my regular keto paleo. I didn't eat sugar. I just ate whole foods, unprocessed. I didn't even do low FODMAP. I still ate garlic and all that stuff and onion. But I did my SIBO protocol and it was really effective. So I don't know too much about the elemental diet to say one way or the other, but I know Dana wasn't a huge fan. She says that she has to work with people after they've done it to like help them recover, essentially. Yeah, sometimes like I always say like brute force, people like that, right? They like brute force tactics when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to healing, sell really well because you get really quick, like, immediate, like instant gratification. The weight's coming off so fast. My symptoms are totally gone. Yeah, but that's a short-term result that then it's going to end up with long-term ramifications. It's kind of like, think about starving yourself. You want to lose weight? If you stop eating, yeah, you'll lose weight. But then what's going to happen? You're going to end up binging. You're going to downregulate your metabolism. Your hair is going to fall out. It's like, good to know. Yeah, naturopath. My sister who can only, if she can already only eat 17 foods, Jesus, putting her on something more restricted is crazy. I would have the naturopath make sure he's looking at like her upper GI, her lower GI, her stress levels, things like that. All right, guys. I know we haven't been here a full hour, but it's late and I'm going to go relax. But remember, Friday, I will be back with Sean Wells, who is like the master at all the supplement stuff. He knows his stuff. Plus, he's dealt himself with several autoimmune conditions and just has a lot to share. So I hope you guys join us on Friday to talk again and bring your questions. He's super sciencey. He has many degrees, so I'm sure he can answer your questions. Yeah. Have a good night. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you guys are excited about the book. It makes me excited, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.